And this will not surprise you if you watch the show regularly. Past Joe Biden in the polls, she is now the actual Democratic frontrunner, likely to be the nominee. Not certain, but likely. Well, today she celebrated that new status by turning the environment into yet another way to divide Americans based on skin color. In a plan she released this afternoon, Warren says she would spend $1 trillion to correct something she calls environmental racism. That will, of course, mean spending even more on racial politics and even less on cleaning up the actual environment. If she were serious about cleaning up the environment, she might mention China, which is, any way you measure it, by far the world's biggest polluter, not just in CO2, but in actual carbon. But over 6,000 words in the plan, and we counted, China isn't even mentioned once. That's not serious. That's something else. What is it? Rob Smith is here to tell us. He's a spokesman with Turning Point USA. So, Rob, thanks a lot for coming on. First, this concept of environmental racism, I mean, the one thing I've always liked about conservationism, cleaning up the environment, which I'm strongly for, is that it doesn't have anything to do with race. It has to do with nature. What is this?
Well, it does have to do with nature. Look, so Tucker, look, you're Elizabeth Warren, right? And so I'm Elizabeth Warren, and I'm getting a big bump in the polls. But that pesky Joe Biden is beating me among black voters. What do?
Yes.
I find this very obscure thing to push to black Americans that they didn't even know that they were victims of. But I know that you're a victim of this, so I'm going to push this to you. No, seriously. And I'm going to use that to get your vote. It's like I said before, it's pandering. And look, she can't talk about the economy because the economy is doing very well right now. She can't act like black Americans don't have jobs because black unemployment is at a historical low. So what does she have? She has more fear. She has another government program that she needs to create to save all the African Americans that's going to cost upwards of $1 trillion, I think you said. And it's going to pump everybody's taxes up.
Well, I'm just confused. I mean, what a missed opportunity, because, I mean, the way that you unite people is around a common enemy. So why not say the one thing we all have in common as carbon-based life forms is we breathe air.
Yes.
And we should want clean air and water. I mean, that really is a uniting message. I think it's a perfectly defensible and good message.
Yes.
But why does she have to make it about identity politics?
They have to make it about identity politics, Tucker, because at this point the left has decided that they need to slice and dice Americans into tinier and tinier groups of people in order to get their votes. So that is just where we're at on the left right now.
How does that wind up in the end? Like, what's the terminus of that? Like, what's the final stage of that?
You know where that winds up in the end? Where it winds up is people like me deciding that I'm nobody's victim, you can't pander to me anymore, and thinking more and more about coming over to the conservative side. And I'm telling you, Tucker, I'm on the ground. I see it. I see more and more, quote-unquote, non-traditional conservatives actually moving over to this side. And I think that this stuff is pandering, and we see right through it, honestly.
Well, it certainly is patronizing. That's exactly right. I mean, it's so dumb. Rob, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.